Take it away, Belle.
Hello. All right. So this month we're doing Cabrito. Um, Cabrito is Manos's mohair yarn. It is mohair and polyamide. Ignore these, not these ones, and not these, not these, not these. This line, beautiful. Actually, here, let's pull these all out. There we go. So this is their mohair. It's a fairly new yarn for Manos, so the line is still somewhat limited, but you can see it's already grown quite a bit. It's kind of your standard lace weight mohair, where it's just nice and fluffy. And of course, I picked the difficult skein to pull off. It's nice and fluffy. It's got, so you can see how fluffy it is, but the individual strand is actually pretty fine. And it's dyed, of course, the typical Manos hand-dyed way, space dyed, so there's lots of colors in it. They have a few solids, but not too many. For the most part, everything is space dyed, so there's a lot of, quite a bit of variation in most of them. It's not even tonal, it's quite a bit of variation. And this is one of their more subtle skeins, but you can see the colors in there and see how thin the yarn is. It's 230 yards per skein and $18 per skein. And they actually go quite a ways for such a tiny looking little yarn or skein. Got quite a bit of yardage in there, which is nice. Polyamide gives it some extra durability, and that mohair is all about making things fluffy and light and warm and just fuzzy goodness. So this is Cabrito.
I'm going to share the screen so people can see the colors. So is everybody seeing that?
Yes.
Good. So there's all the beautiful, beautiful colors of Cabrito.
And you can see there's a couple of the newer ones. Their newer yarns also have the same colorways are in the silk blend, I believe. There's one or two in the Maxima. They don't always do all their colorways and across all their lines, but every now and then they do. So they make really good pairings. If you want to go for the matchy-matchy, which is kind of fun sometimes.
Yeah, it's a nice, and I remember when it first came out, because a lot of mohairs, people are used to mohair being paired with silk.
Yeah.
So that it's mohair silk. This is mohair polymid.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we asked them when it first came out, well, why not silk? And they said they did a lot of testing between the mohair silk combination and the mohair polymid. And they said for the dramatic cost difference between using silk and polymid, they didn't feel the silk added anything to the
nice to know.
the mohair that they're getting. The quality is so good, it's so soft that it didn't need the silk to soften it up. Like you said, the polymid was strictly to add strength, to give it a fiber to hang on to.
Yeah, which is usually, I think, what the silk does anyway. You know, silk in its by itself is pretty strong. And yeah, it was just kind of like a luxury thing to make it, ooh, mohair and silk. But yeah, for the most part, even those, you're just gonna feel the mohair more than the silk anyway. So yeah, using the polyamide doesn't detract and just gives you a nice sturdy yarn that's very lightweight. Oh, so what I was saying, with the skeins that match, there's a few that match, but one of the things about all the projects I bought in for Cabrito for this month are, I only did 2 kits. For the most part, all of these, I just want you to play with color. There's so many options because you can go the whole gamut of having a matchy, choosing a mohair and the other yarn that matches perfectly. You can do pick out one color from a variegated and that matches the mohair. You could do a slight match. You can do a very high contrast or, across the board, a complementary color. So the sky's the limit with these. It's really fun to play with color with these because it's by turns subtle and makes a big impact. You know, it can make quite a large impact when held double. By itself, it can be kind of light and subtle. So it's really neat. Working with mohair is really fun. There's a lot to play with it. So I'll go ahead and jump into some of the models I brought in. And we can
Yay.
delve more into what I'm talking about with those playing with color. This piece is called Pulled Glass. The reason is because you've got these lovely dropped stitches. See if you can see it behind my hand. Where it's like, you know, straining taffy or like a stained glass, where you've got that those little windows of color, and it's subtle, but it's there because the mohair, you know, even though it's thin, it's fuzzy and it puts off a lot, but still lets the light through, still lets other things show up. And so it's just areas can be very light, but because it's got that mohair and all that fuzz to capture the heat, it can still make quite a difference in the evenings, in the mornings. You can wear this piece kind of wide like that. You could loop it, wear it doubled. This is Cabrito and Fino, one skein of each. And so here, like I said, they pulled out one of the yellows from the Cabrito. It's the Hiracha. And so it's got a little bit of that yellow. And so they pulled that yellow out for their Fino. You could easily, just as easily, do this in two colors that match. And so it's a very subtle contrast, or it's just a very slight design element. Or you could go high contrast. You know, if you did a really dark Fino and a really pale, you know, if you did, gosh, if you did a dark gray Fino and this pale pink
Oh yeah.
Cabrito. So there's a lot to play with these different pieces. And I wanted to choose pieces that, while Cabrito is a great companion yarn where it can just add to what you're already knitting, these pieces I think showcase the Cabrito a little bit more on its own. So, you know, here you've got these beautiful little stained glass windows that the Cabrito creates.
Let's share the screen so people can see the pattern online. And I'll also get to point out, you're going to start seeing a lot more of this, that our patterns are now going to be available as digital downloads. And that's both in the free pattern and especially in the Manos patterns, you'll automatically get a PDF download.
And so you can see, you know, she's got it with her open front duster here. Looks really cool. And then there's also a picture of it doubled around her neck for a little extra warmth. So I love these cowls that are versatile like that. They're wide enough to kind of hang down single looped, and then nice and cozy. And because it's Fino and Cabrito, it's not super bulky when you do double loop it. And yeah, there's a better close-up picture of that fine web work of Cabrito. Like little stained glass.
It's a great description of it.
This is called The Sea in a Chasm. This is Alegria and, oops, there we go. Alegria and Cabrito. And I did a version similar to this once. It was just a rectangle. And it's mohair and Alegria, and you alternate rows 2 and 2. But what's great about this pattern is she put it on the diagonal. So it kind of gives it a bit more style rather than my plain boring rectangle. I think, oh yeah, you do have nice square edges, but you've got this great diagonal. And again, here's where you can really play with color. And you can see, yeah, so it's super light and airy and drapey. You can go and you know, it's a scarf. You can wrap it as many times or as few times as you want. So with Alegria, there's, oh gosh, I think 7,000 colors. So you've got a few to choose from. And then the Cabrito, there's a more limited line, but you can definitely find a friend for your Cabrito to play with. Um, and so with this, you know, you choose a Cabrito that's got all this variation in it. And so the Alegria in a solid color becomes a backdrop. And so you've got these really fun stripes, a variegated color, and the Cabrito really shines, especially I think because it's a dark color. I really like this piece. It's super simple, but it's a great accessory. Again, because it's Alegria and Cabrito, it's very light and thin, but it'll still keep your neck and your shoulders fairly warm. And there she is again, looking all stylish. I don't know where she gets her jackets from. It's really neat too, because the little, you know, mitered section where it changes direction is off center of the scarf. So it's just these little tiny details that make it interesting. And so it's very simple, very approachable. I would definitely call this a beginner knit. You're carrying the yarn up the sides, so there's nothing too tricksy about that. And you're just doing, you know, 2 rows of Alegria and 2 rows of Cabrito.
Great. And it's on 6s, so it's no, you're not knitting
Yeah,
on.
it's not even that small.
And that's the thing with mohairs. People get freaked out when they go, "Oh, it's so thin," but because of that mohair is such a big lofty yarn, you can put it on giant needles and it looks great.
It's interesting. Some companies will even market their mohair as a worsted weight gauge. They want you to knit it loose and open because that hair will kind of fill up all those, all the gaps. And they create this really diaphanous, lightweight thing that is still warm. I've seen pullovers done entirely just in mohair. And so they're these gauzy, breezy things. And I think they're so cool. They make me nervous though, because I would snag it on everything, but I want one.
Yeah. So, Belle, there was a question, and I'm realizing our that on the site it doesn't say how many skeins of each yarn are in that pattern.
This one is 2 skeins of Cabrito and 1 skein of Alegria, because Alegria is has a lot of yardage, 445 yards, I think, to the Cabrito's 230. So if you want to max out, get the most of your Alegria skein, you'll need 2 Cabrito skeins. I don't know why I'm showing the tag, but yes, 2 Cabritos.
Right. And you could substitute, you know, one of the other fingering weights, I bet, like Alma or
Definitely.
Fino. Yeah.
Yeah, you could easily do this out of the Fino or the Alma. You could even do, you know, if you want to do the center in one Cabrito and the ends in a different Cabrito, or do a half and half color block, you could play with the colors of your Cabrito as well.
Oh, yeah.
You got possible, ooh, or if you did one of the Fino mini skein packs, yes,
That would be great.
if you do a Fino mini skein pack and you've got a whole bunch of colors to move through, and your Cabrito could be one color to kind of unite them all, or again, kind of contrast. You could do 2 different colors of Cabrito. This is why I couldn't make kits for everything, because there's just a million possibilities.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a great idea. The Fino mini skein pack. How fun would that be?
Yeah, and I just really, it's super simple, that pattern, but I really like it. This one is called Embalme. Do we know what that means, Oz?
I don't.
This is 1 skein of Fino and 2 skeins of Cabrito. Again, the Fino has even more yardage. I think it's like 490. So you need 2 Cabritos to get the most out of your Fino. And this one's really neat. It plays with texture. Oh yeah, you can really see it there. It plays with some fun textures and wedges, and it's got a very subtle curve to the piece, which makes it interesting as it kind of sits on your shoulders. Again, it's I brought in a lot of accessories. It's one of those accessories that's kind of fun. She'll stay still for me. Kind of fun, worn open and drapey and dramatic. Very easy to wrap it twice, or with this really long one. See, it's even cool like that. You can get the best of both worlds. How fun would that be? But you could also do it a third time for that extra warmth. And you still, even wrapped up, you can still see all that really fun texture. These little, I believe that's the Trinity stitch, and little garter ridges. So very simple. This is held together, Fino and Cabrito held together as you knit it along. So it gives it that nice halo.
Go ahead.
I guess that's it.
Yeah. So there it is. And empalme means splice.
Splice. Oh, interesting.
Splice, like to splice two things together.
Yeah, that kind of hints at those little wedges they've got going on. The original pattern was made out of silk blend, and I believe the full pattern now contains this version and the original version. And the original version was a shorter cowl, so I bet you could still do the same if you wanted to just make a shorter version of this. I liked it for the drama of the piece, especially in that red. I think it's really interesting. There's a lot of really interesting subtle colors of Fino to play with too. But that's not to say you couldn't do it all the Alegria as well.
Right. And with silk blend, you need 4 skeins. Because silk blend.
That's for the long version. I think they had a short version too, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
So.
And as you can see, digital download. So if you buy it, you'll just get the PDF for it.
Yeah, you can kind of see it's got this ever so subtle curve. It's kind of fun. So yeah, I just love, look at that texture. Like church windows, or splicing makes me think of orchards and tree roots.
Yeah.
So fun piece.
Very.
That one, I'll save my kit ones for last. So this is a repeat pattern. We're actually supposed to get a different shawl in, but there was a mix-up. But that's okay. We can still show it to you, but I'll show you this one again. And first. So this is called the Bolson Cottage wrap. It's nice and generous. It's got this really fun accordion thing going on. This is knit in stockinette, and this is a very large rib. So it kind of pulls in these sections. And this is your transition bit, which is the Cabrito.
How do you spell that?
Boelson, I believe. Boelson.
There it is. Got it.
And this one was also made with Fino, I believe. Yes, Fino and Cabrito. 2 skeins each of the Fino and Cabrito, because it's fairly long, so you do need 2 skeins of the Fino. But because the Cabrito sections are a little smaller, you still only need 2 skeins of those. And here would be another, because it is broken up in these kind of blocking stripes, here would be another fun way to play with color blocks. So you could do, Cabrito A, Cabrito B, Cabrito A, Cabrito B. You could do the same with the Fino. So it's nice and generously wide, but because of its little accordion nature, it can kind of squish up quite a bit. Yeah, she's got it kind of draped like a classic wrap. I love a good rectangle classic wrap.
Yeah, this is a really neat piece. It's just so light.
Yes. So yeah, even though she's got it all bunched up around her neck, you can see how tiny it looks, so it spreads out really far, but then, yeah, it's not too bulky. So it's a little lightweight wrap, perfect for evenings. Gosh, you could, get a little silk pouch and stuff it in your purse on your way out. Take it around town with you when we can go back to town. The other way I like to style these kind of things is you double it, make a loop, and send the ends through. And I think that's a really fun way, kind of perks it up. So that's the Bolson Cottage wrap. The one I wanted to bring in, and we'll just have to verbally tell you while we look at its picture online, is the Misselthwaite wrap. Do you need me to spell that one, Oz?
No, that one I have.
Okay, good, because that one's harder.
That's right.
The Misselthwaite is made with Fino and Cabrito, And I want to say it's four skeins of Cabrito and 2 skeins of Fino. And what I love about this one is, I don't know if you folks are familiar with the honeycomb cabling, where it kind of, does these little snaking cablings. So this is almost like that, but it's lacy. So there's no background to it. It's just these kind of wiggly lines, these little circles, connected circles, that are open and holy. Oh, there we go. We can, get a better view of it. So you can see, so you've got these little wavy wiggles that connect and separate and connect and separate. And you've got this nice airy space in between them. You're holding the yarn double for this. And I believe it's an asymmetrical triangle. I think this would be a really fun pattern to put tassels on the end of. They don't have tassels, but I think they should. Where's that? Can we see that picture of her standing on the path with it draped around her shoulders?
Yes.
Yeah, so you can see a bit of the point there. She's got it kind of draped around. So yeah, I think all of these, this is, it's one of those things your combinations are endless. You can have yarns that kind of blend together. You can have yarns that contrast and play against each other. Because it's just kind of one of the one yarn and one of the other yarn, your combinations are endless. So feel free to choose your own, call us up to help you choose something. Say, I want something in blues, or I want something in greens, or I want you to make pink and orange work for me. And I will do that. Because actually that's my favorite combo. Although I think Lori would tell me that's the worst combo ever. I'm going to call her out in the middle of everybody, in front of everyone. So now we're to the 2 pieces that I made kits for, because you can never have too many hats, as Tamara would say. This is called the pangolin reversible hat. And it's kind of like a beret, not quite a tam, bit of a beret. It's got a bit of a slouch going on here. And it's reversible because, ba-ba, surprise, it's reversible. So the inside or outside, one shell is made out of 1 skein of silk blend. The band is made with the 2 yarns held together. And the other shell is made entirely out of the Cabrito. And they are knit separately. They are 2 separate shells. And again, you've got endless variety and combinations, but I did make some up because everybody loves a quick hat. So quick kits are fun. It's just 1 in 1.
And as everybody can see here, you go to kits, Manos kits, and then the pangolin hat kit.
So these are just some of my ideas. Feel free to run wild with your own ideas. That's what we love about yarn stores. Everybody's got their own color story they want to do. So a very subtle one, a nice classic cameo pink, and that's the Tiza Cabrito. There's a very subtle green and pink and cream in the Tiza, which is pretty. That's that fun, bright Hiracha. Gamma. This is a very pretty yarn or color. There's a lot of colors going on there, so you could do a lot with that 1 skein. And here it is. Look at orange and pink. You gotta have it. Love that combo. And that's the pangolin hat kit. I think if you didn't want to do it reversible, I don't see why you couldn't just knit the whole thing held double. One of the things I like about it done this way, the reversible way, is that you can, if you want, this is a bit more dramatic where you've got that Cabrito kind of center stage. It's got the background of silk blend, so it really helps it shine. And I bet if you were to put a really high contrast color underneath there, you would get some of that too, whereas this blue kind of nicely blends in and makes a friend with this Cabrito. I bet you could do some fun contrast with it. So that's the pangolin hat.
It's a
I like
neat
this
piece.
one.
I like that
Yeah,
color.
I like this one. I think this is fun. I love these kind of slouchy ones. And then the other one that I made kits for, because I thought the idea was really cool and it is a specific look they're going for. It's called the drifting scarf. And the reason it's drifting is they're drifting you from one silk blend color to another. And they're using Cabrito as the bridge. So even though Cabrito is being held double with the yarn, it actually is a star player in this piece because they use it to kind of soften and blur the edge between the two yarns. So this one, you do kind of want them all to play a little nicely, but still have that contrast to transition from. So that was really fun I put together some kits for this one because I thought that was a really cool idea.
Share that.
Very nice classic size scarf, unisex as far as I'm concerned. Anybody can wear this scarf. Silk blend, 2 of each color for silk blend, and just 2 skeins.
2 skeins of one color of Cabrito.
Yeah, 2 skeins of one color of Cabrito. So with the idea, so that's the original color, and then with the idea of kind of blending things. So we go, we move from a darker blue to a lighter blue with this Cabrito that's got all of it in there.
So to give you an idea, this is what the original, the top one is the Cabrito in all of these.
Yeah. And so you can see that these Cabritos will carry or try to carry each color of the silk blend in it. So it makes for a kind of, not a seamless transition, but it blurs those lines, which is fun. This is probably the highest contrast one, but I thought you got to have a classic, black and gray scarf. And actually, I think this would be really cool to see knit up because I'd be interested to see that Cabrito is actually going to make quite a difference on that dark black skein. I think everyone would be surprised at how much the Cabrito would influence that black skein and the gray for that matter.
And it's blacks and grays, so it's New England approved.
That's right. You could wear it in all the fancy New York cities. La Perla. So this is one of their newer yarns, La Perla, and they actually did that in a couple other yarns, that colorway. And these 2 colors, I swear, they are based exactly on La Perla. I thought this was a really beautiful combination. Butternut, look, someone did pink and orange again. But in my defense, those colors are in that skein of butternut Cabrito.
Yeah, they sure are.
And there's a lot of really nice skeins or colors in the silk blend. And how could I resist? If you want something fun and poppy, the easiest way to get a bunch of color in your life is through an accessory. This is a fun, simple little accessory, makes a pop. Do it out of this one. That'd be great. You could wear it with your black jacket and look amazing.
Yeah.
And then, yes, this combo, because I think that Cabrito is beautiful. So we've got this nice deep maroony red and a bit more of a subtle lighter red. And that Cabrito, the autumn Cabrito, will be a beautiful transition yarn for that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful, that's a very interesting piece. I agree.
Yeah, I think the whole concept of this one really intrigued me. And it's very simply knit, it's about the yarn because this is garter stitch. It's on an angle, but so it's got some subtle styling, but it's not tricky. And you're not doing anything fancy per se, it's a hard line for when you change the silk blends. And then just holding double with the Cabrito there for a few lines. And it's really makes a really nice impact. It's got miter ends to kind of follow those diagonal lines. So that's fun. And again, you can play. I did combos that would blend into each other, just to follow that concept, and I thought it was really neat approach. But that does not mean you can't just go hog wild and have a great time. Um, and you could choose something, choose the gamma that's got all these wild colors in it, and go, especially because it's what, two skein or four skeins, so you could choose several different colors of the silk blend and blend it all. If you picked out of here, we've got an orange, we've got a pink, we've got a teal, and put them all in there and let the cabrito tie them all together. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
That would be, yeah, to add even more color interest. Yeah, to do 4 different colors instead of just 2 different ones.
Yeah, because so many of these have so many colors in them. So you really can play. This one's got a beautiful white and a tan and a fuchsia, and it's even got a little green. So you can make this beautiful kind of afternoon tea party scarf, um, based on the one cabrito, and just playing with a beautiful, colorful scarf. And silk blend is delicious. Who doesn't like silk blend? It's plump, so it's a little thicker, a little heavier than the other scarves, but it's nice and thin, so it'll still go nicely around your neck, drape under your jacket, over your sweater. A fun piece, a mindless but engaging piece to knit.
Speaking of mindless, for people that just want to play with the mohair, a classic thing that we've done with a number of different mohairs is you just take the cabrito, put it on, what do we put it on, like a 13, cast on 50 stitches, and just knit every row. And you end up with this very, very lightweight wrap that compresses down to a scarf very quickly.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have one in the store right now, but over the years we've done a
We've
lot.
got like the tube one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, then there's that other one. Yeah, the
Yeah.
880.
Yeah, and that one was knit on really big needles, so you can actually stretch it out this way and put your head through the tube and get this great ruffle around your neck, or you can stretch it long and it's like a scarf. You can double it, wrap it, knot it. Yeah, so it's just really light, but all that mohair kind of traps the little fuzz, little hairs, trap the warmth, keep your neck nice and cozy. It's kind of the magic of mohair. It's lightweight, it's airy. You don't even really see it that much, but it makes a nice difference on those chilly evenings, chilly mornings. If you're a morning or night person, I'm not a morning person.
But it's true, and I'm just going to share to see all the cabrito colors again.
And this is just a sampling of not only what Manos has, what they do with their cabrito, because like there's the jerboa scarf. We've highlighted that before already. That's held with cabrito. We've got patterns, kits for that, I believe. So there's so many options of what you can do with cabrito.
Yeah, it's a nice, and this mohair, I don't find this mohair has a lot of the flyaway like some of the mohairs do.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem to shed too much.
For a mohair.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice, and it really is deliciously soft.
Yeah, it's nice. It's drapey, and you can't go wrong with those Manos colors. My favorite is the Juanita one. I think someone should make a bunch of stuff out of the Juanita. That's the bright, yeah, there it is, the bright coral one, in case anyone was wondering.
That's it.
So yeah, you can add cabrito. Let's say you've got a favorite sweater pattern, and it calls for some other yarn. You could just add cabrito to it. Hold your yarns double. You've got a favorite cowl pattern or another hat pattern. Add cabrito to it. I think you'd be surprised, especially with some of the thinner yarns, how much of a difference that little color injection makes. Like I said, it seems like it's so light and airy and thin, you wouldn't think that it would make a big impact or difference in the color, but it really does. So it's kind of fun to see how they will look and play together when you've got two different yarn colors like that. So yeah, you can add it to anything. I'll get out of the way so you can see all those colors. This row, not these ones. Don't look at these ones. We're not there yet. And I imagine because it's still fairly new, they're going to be constantly adding more colors to the Cabrito. Look at this one. Yeah, it's hard to see in the light here. This is called ultramarine, and it's just this rich blue and green. Look at that. You can kind of see. Yeah, you can get some of the color out of there. It's actually what was made on the pangolin scarf, but I think or pangolin hat, but just to see it by itself has such a great impact.
Yeah,
so
it's very, very rich.
Colors. Yeah, beautiful colors to work with. A lot of light, fun things. Lots of yarns to play with. That's the Cabrito. Any questions?
Yes, I know folks are muted, but you can unmute yourself if you want to chime in. And so, yeah, they suggested 20 to 26 stitches to 4 inches on a US 3 to 6. So that tells you, you know, they suggest a wide range. And really, you could do a very wide range with this yarn. It's a fun yarn to play with. I'm going to click the button to ask people to unmute. Okay. Oh, and did we cover the chasm? How many skeins were in that one? Let me double check. Yes, we did. Okay. I noticed that question there. Yeah. 2 of Cabrito, 1 of Alegria. Right. So yeah, I could stand around and make kits for these kind of things all day long because I love these color play combos, but there's just so many. So I didn't, because you could choose so many different options and it'll look fabulous. Trust me.